Today we're going to be talking about a journaling method that I found this year that is an absolute game changer. And guess what? You don't even need a pen or a notebook. This is going to change the game, especially if you are someone that doesn't really learn as well through reading and writing. Maybe you learn better through audio, through listening, and through speaking. It's actually a really good book I recommend everybody read called Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. And it actually tells you the different types of how people actually learn properly. So some people learn better through audio, through listening, and through watching or speaking, or people learn really well through writing and reading. So figuring that out can be super helpful. But this helped me level up a ton in my life. It's helped me to essentially remember things better. So if you have a bad memory, this is also really, really good, really, really powerful. So essentially, the journaling method that I do is voice memos. So I have an iPhone, so everyone who has an iPhone has a voice memo app. You just press record and you can start talking into it. So what I do is I essentially, anytime that I have a problem or I have an idea that I want to expand upon, or I have whatever, it could be a random journal prompt, it could be something I want to reflect on, it could be goals, it could be just some topic in my head that I'm considering in my life trying to figure out, I will just go on a walk or I'll just pace in my apartment and I will just pull up the voice memos and I will just start brain dumping into the voice message. Now, you've probably heard of this before. You maybe even done this before. At this point, you might be like, that's not that revolutionary. What do you mean? That's not even that cool. Let me tell you why this has been so powerful for me and why I believe it could be a game changer for you as well. If you have a bad memory, right? Which a lot of us do. I have a pretty bad short-term memory as well. A lot of times when I'm brain dumping, I'm going through a problem, I'm talking through something, I get into this flow state of ideas and aha moments and light bulbs going off. And then obviously I'm in that flow in the moment, but if you fast forward 5 days, 7 days, 2 weeks, a month, I don't really remember. There might be aspects of what I said that day or what I was thinking about at that time that I kind of remember, but ultimately I don't really remember it. And the reason that I know that I don't remember it is because I will listen back to my voice messages a month later and be like, holy shit, I completely forgot about this. That is so smart. What an amazing idea. But I would not have known if I didn't go back and listen to it, which is the most important part of this is that you do it and you go back and listen to it. Now you might be thinking, well, why can't you just journal and do that? For me personally, I don't really like journaling. My hands get tired. I don't really like writing. I got shitty handwriting. And I just don't make it a habit to go back into my journals and reflect and look through them very often. Plus, for me, writing just feels like a chore. Whereas I love going on walks to clear my mind. I love going on walks to get more steps in, to burn calories, to be healthy, to go outside, to take breaks. And holding my phone up to my mouth and just brain dumping is 10 times more enjoyable for me. It's literally night and day. Plus the other thing that I really, really like is there is seriously something to be said about speaking your thoughts and actually forcing yourself to form coherent sentences that can be understood by yourself or could be understood if you said them to someone else in a conversation. And there's something about this that I think is way different than journaling. Obviously, when you're writing down and journaling, you are taking the time to think out the thought and then write it down. But sometimes for me, my brain moves faster than my hand can write, and I almost don't get everything down on the piece of paper. Or I just like talking and saying it, and there's something about me just saying full sentences and having to be no, Cooper, you don't just get an abstract thought to sit in your head. You have to say it out loud in a way that if you were to come back and listen to this recording, you'll understand it. It was coherent, it was a sentence, it made sense, it was logical, it was sequential. And I love that. I think it's been an absolute game changer, and it's such a good reminder for me because it also makes all of my walks way more productive, and they feel so much better because when I go on a walk and I'm wanting to do this, then I'm like, cool, I'm not just walking and like listening to music for no reason, or I'm not just, again, listening to yet another podcast or another audiobook. It's like, okay, I'm gonna like talk about some shit that I wanna talk about. And the cool thing is you don't have to feel like there's pressure, like, oh, well, what if I can't say a full sentence? It has to be a one take. I'm not good at recording content. I'm not good at saying, just pause it. There's a pause button. You can press the pause button. You can be like, you should really stop overthinking when these are scenarios because of X, Y, Z. Pause, and then go, okay, what else was I gonna say? Because every time you overthink, you prevent yourself from actually taking action. And then you can just start it back up again. So you can do that, pause. You can even, what I'll do too, is you can like pause, you can scroll back on the timeline of the voice memo, and you can literally like press the replace button, and then you can re-record over that. So if you like stumble over your words, if you mess up, if there's too many gaps. So it's awesome. So it's that, it makes your walk more productive and better because you're fleshing out little ideas and brain dumping your thoughts. And then when you go on a walk the next day, a week later, 6 months later, a year later, you can literally listen back, and you're like teleported back to that snapshot in time when you were going through some shit, or when you were working through a problem, or when you were spitting ideas on a topic that obviously meant a lot to you in the first place. Otherwise, it wouldn't be top of mind. Otherwise, you wouldn't go out of your way to talk about it. And that has been awesome. I've actually been doing this for longer than a year. So even though I said at the beginning of this video, I found this last year in 2024, I've done it before, and I've gone way back in my voice messages, and I scroll back to like 2022, and there's voice messages of me, and it's just like so interesting to hear like exactly what I was going through, exactly what my thought processes were, exactly like what my level of self-development or what my perspective was at the time. I just find it super, super helpful. And there's also just reminders that I'll tell myself. Basically, it's like, imagine like you have a bad experience. This is actually an exact example, so I'll just give you like an example. I had a very bad experience with a girl one night, and I basically just like thought about it the next day and thought about all the mistakes that I made, thought about how I misread the situation, thought about how I treated her the wrong way, thought about like how she was acting like a complete buffoon. And then the next day I just brain dumped into my voice messages like all of my takeaways, and just like kind of like cemented all of my thoughts and takeaways from that interaction, from that evening. And then I just kind of like hyped myself up, reframed it, told myself why it doesn't matter, why you're gonna do better in another situation, blah, 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 whatever it is. And then now it's like, if I ever want to just like remind myself of what that was, what my frame is going into dating, or how I should act towards women or whatever, I just have that reminder, and I can listen to it like over and over and over and over and over again. And I think a lot of times it's that repetition that's super helpful. I hear this all the time from successful people. It's something along the lines of like first off, like what gets repeated gets remembered. And then the other times is sometimes what we need more than anything is to be reminded. It's like instead of new information, sometimes we just need to be reminded of something that we already knew or that we were already told. So anyways, that has been incredibly impactful into my life. I think it's going to be a key component of my reflection, self-development process going forward. If you've ever done something like this, let me know. What do you think? Join the conversation down below. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Appreciate you. Cheers.